So welcome out everybody, our House Radio Black Top Conversations and Cocktails and Conversations today. Before we begin, I would like to send my condolences out to our brother DJ Tamel, who lost his daughter. My condolences to you and your family. Our prayers are with you, my brother.
My condolences.
Also like to shout out our sponsors, Sapphire Emerald Magazine, Miss Mac Marketing, Party Mode. So, you know, as you all know, the house music scene in New Jersey is booming as of right now. Over the summer, we had outdoor house music events every day, and that's not including our indoor events like House Music Wednesdays at Dolce's. New Jersey is booming with house music, but with that being said, there was also a lot of drama going on. There were a lot of people trashing events, talking about DJs and what DJs should be on the events and what DJs shouldn't be, what they should be playing, new music, old music. I don't like this DJ, he play old music. Trashing promoters, talking about we gonna boycott this promoter, stepping on other DJ toes and promoter toes on the same day. So we're gonna talk about all that. But today, I have two friends with me. I have the founder of Citizens Going Forward, who does many charitable events in the community, like providing clothes and feeding the homeless. Also, the organizer of the Elizabeth Goodwill House Music Festival. Welcome, Chris Nelson. How you doing, Chris?
Good, my brother, Mr. X. Thank you for having me, brother. I really appreciate you sharing your platform with me.
Definitely. And we also have a certified professional life coach in the building, founder and organizer of Cocktails and Conversations. Please welcome Terry Jeter.
Well, thank you for having me, Chilex. I really appreciate to be a part of this. And hello, Chris, how are you? And everyone.
Hey, my sister, I'm good, thank you.
And sponsors, I want to say thank you to your sponsors as well.
And so today's topic is solidarity in house music, how we could come together as a people, how we could come together as organizers and promoters, and how we could all work together. And this is, you know, a New Jersey thing. I don't know, you know, maybe Chicago, Europe have the same issues as we do, but this is specific to what we experience here in New Jersey. For example, one of the things that we deal with over the summer is promoters stepping on each other's dates. Like, for instance, we may have a festival on this Friday, but another promoter knows that this organizer is doing something on that Friday, but he'll schedule another festival on that same day, kind of splitting the house music community into two. So what we want to do is kind of bring people together. So, you know, with that being said, what are your thoughts on that, Chris?
Well, thank you, brother. My thoughts is exactly what you just spilled out. What you just pointed out is an issue that I think need to be addressed, and we discussed this the last time we met, where we were talking about the code of ethics and where that comes and play a role in that. It comes to a point of respect for others, and that has to deal with the decency of one's character. If one has any, you know, decency in them, to recognize and realize what it takes to get these dates, because these dates are never guaranteed to any of us. And of course, the unforeseen circumstances with the rain date, you know, you can't hold that against nobody if they plan on your rain day. But the day that you officially do repetitiously, and you have a report, a history of doing that throughout the community, those who throw events know. So anybody new come on, and nobody can really find any excuse to say why they did this, because we know the ones that consistent with the events. So what I think about it, I think that we should, you know, honor those dates that people have, and fit in, get in and fit in where we can fit in at, I would say, you know.
So what do you say about the people, you know, they are working with the county and the county only gives them that date, Do you think they should still throw their event knowing that there's another event going on that same day?
Well, I think I think it's something that's been done, and I think it's something we ain't gonna be able to stop, because it has been going on for some years, maybe even before I got involved. But to your point, like reviewing what took place last year and leading up to this year with the indoor a lot of parties, what you do indoors and outdoors has become a thing that has been growing, and that's good because I say it's good because it actually is something that encouraging others to step out and filling a void where it may need to be for their community, specifically for their community. But if that can be considered with understanding that if somebody else has that date, I feel that stepping on that date, it's not taken into consideration, and it shouldn't be taken lightly. Because I'll give you a prime example why I say that. For me to get this event done in Elizabeth, it took a lot of fighting. It took a lot to get permits. It took a lot for me to get people in the city of Elizabeth to endorse what I was doing. And I took a lot of hits, because I had to stand up to those to ask them why not, when what they're doing is no different than what I'm doing. And I'm talking about, I had to take it to the county. And in comparison, I guess you could say orange and apples, but I don't see no difference. If you hosting an R&B event annually in Plainfield, and I'm coming to you as a representative to ask you, can you endorse what I'm trying to do here in Elizabeth? Mind you, now they seen, as we said earlier, Magic in the past, Magic was doing something significantly big in One Acre Park. So for some of them, that was enough. But I felt like it was something that I felt like I wanted to do in Elizabeth to generate some energy and boost the morale of people. So yeah, it's personal for me when people target the effort of people that go out here and do all they can do to bring something to their community to represent house music. There's no need for demoting anybody's programs or demote the event coordinator or promoters, because when you do that, that is equivalent to just like sabotaging somebody's event, whether you want to see it that way or not. But that's exactly what you're doing when you go publicly and use those disparate comments like that. So I totally think we should fall back on that and let the people judge, because it's the people that we're trying to, serve. Let the people be the judge. But when, and I'm gonna just say this here, and then Terry could take it over from here. Terry mentioned about pay homage to those that who's in this here full pledge and give their all to it. And do you think Frankie Knuckles will be satisfied the way things are going now? I'm sure his vision was like when he started this, and we were talking about Chicago, Terry, but we dealing with Jersey. But I'm saying we're talking about the father of this here, correct?
He's part of it.
Okay, part of it.
It was
then,
a few of them, yeah, but he was a part of it to bring it.
Yeah. Okay.
He was turned down at one time. I mean, somebody else turned down to play, and they came to Frankie Knuckles, and then that's how he, took it at this particular club in Chicago.
Right. I'm sure it's always more than one person. But what I wanted to say on that, right, is that, do y'all recall the dude, the gentleman, I think his name is Steve Dow, and he was a guy that bashed disco.
Yes.
He bashed disco because he was a guy that
was the end of the disco era. Yes.
Yes. and he did that with the intent to destroy disco. So is what's is this
But
what
tell
we want
why.
to?
But tell why. But tell why he did that.
Okay, well you can elaborate on that. But my point is that is this something we want to do to one another?
Oh, I get your point. I get
Is
it.
this something we want to do? Do we want to be
Dismantle.
collective and choose
Dismantle.
who to support, who not to support? And I feel that we cause our own demise when we do this. So I would say, please let's come together, and because that's what I'm about, building relationships, and I'm not trying to throw shade at nobody, throw anybody under the bus, because Chill know I had a table where I called all brothers and sisters together on one table from different various towns or cities or what have you, and I caught flack for that, but that's okay. I kept on going. So I'm just saying we can't keep.
Wait a second, Chris, can I ask you?
Sure.
Why would you have flack for calling people to this table to have a discussion about this? Why would you get flack from that? I'm trying.
People are caught up in tribalism. People are caught up. If I didn't go to school with you, I don't support you. If I didn't do a bid with you, this is real talk. I ain't do a bid with you. I ain't put no street work in the streets with you. And this is the kind of mentality we have, why we don't want to associate ourselves with one another. But then when the minute you engage into that nonsense, you get people that want to take part in what you're doing. Because I refuse to do that, because I'm not into cliques and groups, stuff like that. I caught the flack because I was bringing people from every different direction, which, like I was telling you before, any corporation does that. We don't challenge the corporation who they hire or who they bring in. So, I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. If you want, Terry, you could piggyback off that, Mr. X, you can. But that's just the reality of what I was up against. And that's why it's personal for me to advocate. We got to be better towards one another.
Is it okay?
Go right ahead.
So back to the point where you were just saying Steve Dow and now how the end of the disco era, which I came in at the tail end of it, and I think a lot of us may have if we were around the same age. But yeah, he did it because he was a DJ. They call him a disc jockey. He was a disc jockey. Got upset because he didn't get hired on a particular radio station, so
yes.
He wanted to play more of disco, and he got mad. And I don't know if some of you remember, but I do remember when I was a little kid watching TV. They were throwing at a baseball game. They were throwing all the disco records. He had all these people to do this, right? To come and just burn these records and stuff, right? The albums, I should say, right? Because back then they were like 33s and stuff for the mixes for DJs and stuff, right? And so I remember that, and I said, oh wow. And I hated the fact that they ruined that era of disco, because there was nothing wrong with disco, because it's really an evolution of club and house. That's all it is, really, right?
Right.
So you can't kill something that's destined to fulfill its need, right? And so music is one of them. Music is a way of how we communicate to each other. You got to remember, going back to Africa, it started out with the drums. That's how other African tribes, and speaking of tribes, it didn't matter what tribe you came from in a sense, because we all recognize the beat of the drum, which comes from the heartbeat, right? And so we knew that beat when we heard those sounds and those beats, because we couldn't relate back then, because everybody had back then. We're talking about going back to Africa, which I've never gone, but I do know, talking to people and just understanding the history of the drums in Africa, just the culture, that they communicated, even though they didn't speak the same language, but they communicated through drums, right? And that's the same thing. I don't want to go crazy too much, but that's like with Harriet Tubman, when we were able to be traveling from, when she was having people travel from the South to go up north to be free, there was just things that you would have to listen to, that you would have to hear, because everybody didn't speak the same language and everybody didn't agree with what she was doing. But the only way you were able to be able to keep something solid is that you had to conform to that. You had to do that. And if you didn't, what would happen is that, like with Chris and we all are saying, you break the solidarity, you break the code, you break that. And then if you have people infiltrating that and destroying that, something that's so beautiful, then this is what you get. You get chaos, you get confusion. And then the possibility of dismantling something so beautiful. But music is something that we all communicate with. It just helps us to talk to each other. It helps us to feel better. It brings us together. So music is going to be here forever, and it's not going to change, right? And so that's why we, as a dancer, we praise those DJs, and we say, promoters, thank you for allowing us to be able to have a place to dance, and thank you DJs for playing in those spaces, right? But everybody, as I said before, everybody doesn't understand the history of our own African American culture. So they don't know some of those things. And not to say everybody, but there's some people who don't understand it. And then there's people who don't understand that you are a grassroots person like myself. When you're a grassroots person in a community, not necessarily a political person, because I'm not a political person so much, but I am a grassroots person. So I'll get on the ground, I'll do the footwork to get things done, right? If you don't have a lot of people who understand that, and then you have the evolution at the same time from disco club to house music, right? And then at the same time, these timelines, you have these eras of things are going on. And then you have these people who are coming up, no fault of their own. This is nothing when we're talking right now, audience, I hope that you're not taking this to the point where we're faulting people. If you put a date, the same day somebody else, if you do there's no fault of your own. If you don't know the history of what you come from or what you're part of the era that you're in. And this is a discussion, the important discussion that we're talking about is how to keep the solidarity in house music is what we're doing to help them to understand, my brother, it's okay. You can plan your event on that day because we are all individual people. And nobody controls us in a sense, nobody controls us. We can do what we want, behave the way we want, do what we want. However, we all know that there are consequences to our behaviors, to things. Now, do people think about the consequences to their actions when they're setting these dates? Maybe not, but maybe there are some people who are, and I think that Chilex mentioned that. He mentioned that, like DJ Muhammad and why is the name escaping me right now? And Beloved in there. They've been in this game, and they're pretty new to me. They're not maybe new to some other people, but they're pretty new to me on the onset of the evolution of house music. Because I remember my first experience of finding out about DJ Muhammad, Beloved. I was there when Beloved started coming out. He may not remember this, but I remember when he was coming out, and I remember Jaha, and I remember the first time hearing Chilex, right? And it's only because when you're out there and you're on the dance floor, you hear the music, you hear the sound, you know the transition. So maybe people are not conscious of the consequences. And when I say consequences, it doesn't have to always mean negative, right? Meaning the consequences could be that, understand that, hey, when you did that, you could be stepping on somebody's toes. Did you know that you were doing that? No, I did not know that I was doing that, right? Or let's say, yeah, I knew, but this is me. I can get my event. I have my own following. So people have the right to do that. So here's where it comes to the point that you're saying. You're saying that the ethic of doing something like that and the respect and paying homage to people and just saying, hey, let me just check in with you. Let me just check in. Let me give you a call, because I'm quite sure most of these DJs know how to get in contact with each other. And if they don't, they know somebody who knows how to get in contact with them. And so here's something I may suggest. Again, if this is possible, because everybody have different personalities and nobody wants people to tell them what to do because they feel like they're their own person or their own man or own woman, rightfully so. But it's not always so about that, because nobody really accomplished anything on an island by themselves, right? And you know that, Chris, as a community person, and me as a community person, you know you need people, right? And so if you think that you are so great that you can set dates or you can do this, and you think that that's going to keep the solidarity, my brother or my sister, you're going to be highly disappointed because that's nothing new underneath the sun. Because anybody who operates on their own know that they are destined to fail, because you need people to help you to get to where you're trying to go. And this is what we're doing. We're trying to keep the solidarity in house music and be mindful of other people's feelings and emotions, even though we have our own way of thinking and our own life. But you got to remember that this house thing is not an individual thing. It's a we thing. And if you're going to operate with solidarity, and as we talked about interdependence, we have to look out for one another. We have to take in consideration other people's feelings and other people's ideas and things of that sort. Now, can we control everything and everybody? No, we can only control ourselves. My last point to these promoters who do a wonderful job going out fighting to have these events in their counties, right? Now, you got to remember, we just came out of COVID. And out of COVID, there was money because we've been locked up. Well, not locked up. We've been isolated from our families and, people and just life. And that was really somewhat traumatic for some people, right? So you got to remember, when we came out, there was money there for everybody to do a lot of different things for these counties. So what are we going to do with this money that we have? Part of that money, right? People like yourself, other promoters, came to their the councilmen, came to their city councils, came to their mayors, came to their freeholders, because the freeholders of the county, whatever county you're in, Essex, Union, Middlesex, it doesn't matter what county, your freeholders are the ones who represent the county, your county. And so you have to do this protocol of, hitting these markers to be able to get the approval, like what you're saying, Chris, of fighting to get people to say, here, we deserve to have this money in our township because of this X, Y, and Z. And that's what you were doing, all those promoters, right? But you gotta, the public doesn't see the behind the scenes of that. I mean, I used to work in community, so I understand the behind the scenes of grants and money that they have to spend, and it has to be spent a certain way. And if it's not spent a certain way, you lose that money, right? So no one lose that money. So you keep these events going. You have to prove all these things, why you need this money to do these things. And I think that that's what one of the things, and Magic, forgive me if I'm putting you on the spot, but I think that's what happened this past summer when it came to the house event of people not understanding why it was just one day and not 2 days. That even though somebody may have started something and created something, or the origin of something, that doesn't necessarily mean it will remain the same. So people had their opinions about, that piece about, who should be the DJ and who should not be the DJ. Even the person was the originator. And I think that was one of them, the climax, if I had to say, of house music. People started becoming divided in a sense, because some people thought that Magic should have done, this. And some people said, no, Magic was this and it was with him. And some other people might say no. But the point is that when you have the county involved in something and there's a budget that has to be done, why lose that money over a conflict? Because once you lose that money, you lose the opportunity to possibly have an event happen again next year. So I'm glad that they did continue to do it. And I hope that they work those things out behind the scene if they can. I'm hoping next year will get better. But people don't understand behind the scene things. When you have the county involved who's backing up something, you kind of have to, go with the dates that they're saying, because they have a deadline too. And they have things that should happen. So when it comes to that, people have to remember, back then we were inside, and there was only a few clubs. It was only a few clubs and you were inside. Now you're talking, and most of that time it was Northern Jersey. I'm talking about Newark and East Orange. Those are most of the places, the clubs that people were coming from all over different counties of New Jersey, coming to North Jersey. That's why most people know about the Zanzibar. That's why they know about the New Experience. That's why they know about all those other clubs that were happening in Northern Jersey. They were basically in Newark and East Orange. So people were coming to Northern Essex County. But you got to remember, like I said, Magic made it more popular for us to be outdoors. And that inspired, and not forgetting Eddie Nichols and Shelton and Al Murphy for all of them in the beginning, but Magic was the one really was the one who made it very popular for people to be outdoors. Now you got people going in their own county, Essex County, Union County, Middlesex County, right? You got these people now who are saying, I want this to happen in my township. So now you're not only just coming to one county, now you're coming to different counties. So here we have what we think could be creating division within the house community, because now in that community, that township or that union or that township, like say Union County, Essex County, Middlesex County, you have your promoters there who saying, I want this to come here, right? What happens when they say, well, we're going to pick this day because I have my favorite DJ and I have this particular person who I want to be here. You set that up. Sometimes you may step on somebody's toes because of the fact of that. But back in the day when we were doing when we were doing club music, you came and you paid your money to come to one particular event, place. Now it's different. And this is the point I want people to understand, where it could be some diversity, because you got people coming now in different counties and you're outside and you're spread out. And so, of course, if something could be done in someone's hometown, of course, they're going to stay pretty much in their hometown, rightfully so. And like you're saying that, these people won't come to the table because, won't come to an agreement, or don't even want to come to the table because they feel like you didn't do the bid with me. You are not from my community. We didn't go to school together. Okay. That is where I would like to come in and talk with those people and be the mediator to kind of help, like bridge the gap of this thing, to understand that it's not about me. It's about we, because we all come from the same culture. We all come from the same culture. And we have to learn how to talk to each other. We may not have to agree with each other. And this is what I tell my clients. You may not have to agree with the person saying, but you should at least get the information from them, because you might find something out. And that way you can begin to work some things out. But if you have a closed ear and you don't even want to show up to a table and you don't want to even talk with a person, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be bold about this because I say this to anybody, then you don't have the right to say anything about this situation of anybody's conflict if you're not willing to talk to the person. Because how can you give your opinion about something, one, if you weren't there, two, if you wasn't there, didn't get the whole information or get the whole information. People like to give their own point of view. You got some people who are very tricky, who like to manipulate people to believe in that this person is not a good person, or you shouldn't deal with that person. Watch those people. Watch those people, because again, I go back to talking about motives. When people come to you, people usually have two motives, and I tell people this all the time. It's not up to you to decide what the person's motive is. It's up to you to find their motive, because no one's going to tell you if their motive is good or bad. And you won't know until they do it. So you do have to make sure that you ask questions. You do have to say things to decide, is this person genuine? Is this person not genuine? So that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with real personality. We're dealing with real people. We're dealing with people who are not in our era, who are now coming up and not understanding and have these personalities. And everybody doesn't have a healthy perspective about life. Everybody doesn't grow up in a family who helps them to navigate this world in a healthy way. No, some people think they're on a survival mode every day. It's, either you be gotten before somebody gets you. So sometimes you're dealing with those personalities. So if you're dealing with those personalities like that, of course you're going to have division. Yes, you will have division, because that person, those people believe that they should get you before they get you. Okay. And with that mentality, solidarity, and I don't care what house you're in, will not survive.
So big shout out to DJ Air out in Chicago. I love to hear more about that Chicago house music scene. Big shout out to Monique and Kim in the chat. To what you were saying, Terry, what do you think about the people? Everybody wants to be a leader these days. Leadership is one of the things that is pushed in our society right now. So I think a lot of these people don't want to come up under, they don't want to organize with other people, and they want to be the one in charge. And Chris had brought up a point one time that a lot of people reach a certain level of popularity and let their egos get in the way. Chris, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I say, you know, ego is good, long as you can keep it in check. Because if you don't have faith and believe in yourself more than anybody else, then you're subject to fail, because you got to believe and have faith in yourself. So ego comes along with that, but you got to keep everything in perspective by not getting too far gone ahead of yourself by thinking you're better than somebody based upon because you got a trend, you got a following, and they building you up, and that's good, because some people need building up. If your self-esteem is at a level where it's low and you lacking in confidence, sometimes we need that boost. If you don't have what I find encouraged to step out, what is to find for some people drastic or radical making changes is necessary, but sometimes that is itself can be a detriment, where people find that a bit too much, because you have different perspective, like Sister Terry said. And I think what we need to do when we talk about solidarity, we have to look at the bigger picture, not me, myself, and I. Once we get past looking at it, because like I say again, I come up, being my brother's keeper, I come up under that philosophy. I come up with that, we help one another. And if we got some indifferences where we need to discuss some, we don't go public with it. That's why I wouldn't announce many of the brothers up here in Jersey, north or south, name these individuals, because each and every one of them are great in their own right.
Yes.
So if I name one, it's unfair for me to name one and not name the rest. So I don't want to do that. But I want to let it be known that if we allow all the bickering, in-house fighting, and we're subject to fail. We're doomed, because, as I said, going back to what I was saying, it only takes somebody to spew out this kind of misinformation, disinformation, character assassin, someone, and what happens? There's a fallout, and fallout comes from not only from within, but the general public get a whiff of that. Guess what? Some of us not thinkers of ourselves, free thinkers, where they freelance to think on themselves, where they can lead on their own without being a follower of somebody's word or what they're saying. Sometimes, the words in itself could carry a long way and cause our demise. And that's why I said, if you don't like something, especially about me, I'm one constructive criticism. I can handle that. I'm built like that. I don't know about nobody else, but I'm built like that. So, in all due respect, you want to talk to me how I can better enhance what I'm doing? It's a way to do that. Brother Nelson, can you and I have a discussion on the side here? Because I got your best interest. Your deliverance means everything, but we don't do that. What we do, we slack talkers. We backbiters. We destroy and assassinate one another's character, not knowing that you could destroy that person, especially somebody who's coming out and actually is not getting thrust into some uncharted territory they ain't familiar with. So, but we give an effort of stepping out there, and sometimes a little boost help us go a long way, and before you know it, that's where prosperity grows. But if you beating somebody up before they can actually get started, you don't kill their motive, you don't kill their spirit, the drive, you don't kill their will. So we got to be careful how we label certain individuals, how we putting down one another. And that's why I said I'm gonna piggyback back what I'm saying. if you have the intent to destroy rather than build, then you're gonna get called out on that.
And what's that
I
called?
won't call you. I won't call you
Chris,
out publicly
call?
on social media.
Chris, what is that called? When we do
Pardon me?
that,
Part-
what is do that? If you're not part of
The solution,
then you are.
a problem. You are a problem.
So
So
that's
we can't have that because we got enough of that as we speaking on.
So what do you say about the people that say they're not criticizing, it's feedback, and they expect you to take that feedback and grow upon it next year and get better and improve the event next year? So they don't look at it as criticism. They look at it as providing you feedback that should help your event going forward. It turned out like that, what's your perspective on
Please
that
let
whole
me
matter?
tell you what.
How feedback should be given to people?
And that's a great point that you bring up, and whoever brought that up too, right? Feedback and criticism is pretty much two different things, right? And if you're not built or have a thick skin, might not be able to take somebody's criticism, right? And if you don't understand that it's a skill to be in a relationship or to learn how to have conflict resolution, if you're not skilled in these things, and the only reason why I know is because I'm skilled in those things, right? But a lot of people are not skilled in these things, and we're trying to hold these people to this high standard to understand that within the house community. Everybody's not going to understand the difference between criticism and constructive criticism and feedback, right? Some people just don't know that. They just think
Right.
that, hey, say what I want to say to you, and I'm a grown woman or I'm a grown man, I can say what I want and you just take it. But then the person who's on the receiving end of it might take it another way and say, hey, I'm not used to being talked to that way, and you're not going to talk to me this way. And it become a conflict because you have two different people, how they're trying to communicate with each other. They don't know how. And most people do not know how to listen. And that's a skill, right? And there's where there lies the conflict, because people do what we all know a lot of times. You listen to respond. You don't listen to get the information. So in my field, I have to get people to listen, to understand what the person is saying, not to listen just to respond so you can have something back to say and don't even hear what the person is saying to you, because you just want to get your point across and the other one doesn't want to get their point across. And if you got two people who want to just get their point across and don't even understand that that's not how you communicate, whether you think you're a grown woman or grown man, that's not how you communicate. That's not a healthy way to do that. You're communicating, but you're not communicating effectively. And this is what we're talking about. How can we effectively communicate to one another our feelings about things that are happening in the house community? How can we do that? And that's the part I would like to play in the house community with the DJ, between the DJs, the promoters, and the house dancers, and the people who spread the word for these promoters and DJs, right? I like to be that part so that you, and I'm going to offer this. You can come to me if you see me out, and you can tell me some things that you have in a conflict with somebody. And you don't necessarily have to say the name if you don't want to. But if you want to tell me, say, hey, this is a situation, I think people should hear this, because it is a way that you do have to present information to people without them becoming defensive, right? Especially if they don't know you, right? And especially if they're used to being communicating the same way and you don't communicate the way they expect you to communicate, you're going to have chaos again. And I think that is what's happening in the house community, that here's the other layer of the evolution, is now that how do you bridge this gap between some of these people, not such newcomers, but they are in a sense newcomers, and people who have been in this game and know how it's been operating for years, because we don't like change, right? Yet we evolve, and sometimes we got to get people to the point to change, because they will eventually change, but it's just hard to get everybody to change at the same time, right? And so you need somebody who's skilled in that. You need somebody in any job that you go, and people know this, any job that you go to, they always have a place where you could go and you could vent and air out whatever you have to have. And it's called ombudsman, right? When you have some type of conflict. Like, again, we talked about, there is no code here in a sense. There's unspoken rules in the house community, just like it's unspoken rules in the African-American community and household, but it's unspoken rule, but there's no particular person or advocate or code And that's something I think how we can resolve that, because that's something, a position I would like to take on to that, so that we can bridge that gap and that we can help people to learn how to communicate to one another. And if the person doesn't know how to do it, because some people don't, I have to give it to the people who do say those things, and they mean well. They do. They in their heart, they really mean well, but it comes across wrong because they don't know that they don't know that person. Right. So you do have, it is a skill. You do have to have somebody who knows how to do that. And I like to be that person to help people to smooth things over, to get each other to hear each other. And I do know this, of the over 11 years I've been practicing for myself, but longer than that, without, being in my field and working in the community, is that if people don't feel safe and secure to talk to you, they will not talk to you. They will not say anything. And so what they will do, they will go tell somebody else and they'll say something else, but then that person will come and bring it back, and they might not bring it back the right way because you don't know their motives. But if you make people feel safe to talk, and they feel like they could trust you, they will talk to you, they will change, they will do those things. But you got to make it a safe place. And I think that that's what we're doing right now. We're making it a safe place for people to come and talk about their feelings about the solidarity or the insult or the, and I don't think the house music is going to be dismantled, but I think, Chris, what you're saying is that it feels like it might be the beginning of the dismantle if we don't learn how to become together, because
Not totally, but in fractions, it would be, what I mean, there'll be a lot of fractions, and
that's the crack when we talk about the infiltration. You don't know somebody who might have, like this guy, Steve, who was mad that he didn't get this position at this radio station. So now he want to make it bad for the whole era of disco and destroy it, right? Which he did, because one person can't do that. And
Right.
we see it. I think you're saying that we, and a lot of other people are probably saying what you're saying, Chris, but they're just not here. A lot of people are saying what I'm saying, but they're not here. A lot of people can relate with what Chilex is saying, but they're not here. And we're going to try to speak for them as much as possible without. But I think that they're saying that we want to protect the solidarity of the house makers, and we do acknowledge and we see something is happening, and we don't want it to happen next year. So how can we prevent it from being dismantled, and how can we just have more cohesiveness in the community of house music? And I believe that we can do it, because we're starting right now, and I like to be the part of the mediator of that.
Well, this is the start of the beginning, so I'm pleased that we have Chill's platform to do this.
So I want to ask y'all, so, we're trying to create solidarity in house music. So how do you do that when there are some people that are just out to get that bag? They're not in it for the love. They're not in it because they love this house music. They just out to get that bag, whether it's, the county money, whether it's city money. They just want to get some paper, do an event, and don't care about nobody else or really the world of house music. What do you have to say about that?
Well, Mr. X.
That's personality. Now, I know this may not have nothing to do, but in my field, the first thing that pops out to me, and I think I said it before, that's personality. And people who have personality situations going on, you will never change that. You will never change that. They have to see it. And if they can't see it, they won't change it. And that comes with any relationship, intimate relationship, family relationship, house relationship, business relationship. In our field, and I tell people all the time that that's a personality situation. That person has to be able to see what's going on and what they're doing. And if they cannot see it, they will not do anything about it, and they will not change. As a matter of fact, they'll look at you like you're the problem and they're not the problem. And so eventually, a lot of the times, those people with that type of personality is what you're seeing. Sometimes they do get away a lot with a lot of destruction, right? They get away with, hurting people. They get away with setting things up and behaving badly. They do, because a lot of people within organizations or relationships and family, they don't know about that personality. So you gotta remember, when you're dealing with somebody's personality, you're not familiar with personality disorders and stuff like that. you don't know. So you'll just you'll make things up like, oh, that person's tired, or that person's just had a bad day. No, that person have a bad day. That person is like that. And that person is going to let you know that I don't care about people and I don't care about this. And you're right, Chilex. There are some people that are like that. And there's not much you can do about that if the person doesn't see that. And that's in every area of people's life: work, home, relationships. So in house music, those people are there too. So there's not much you can do about that if people don't understand that that person's personality is not a personality who is about what we're talking about, solidarity. They don't care about that because it's a me.
Let me interject, if I may, to your question, Chill. People get involved with things with the greatest intent in the beginning, but then greed takes over. See, when you get a taste of something and it's good to you, you get overwhelmed.
Yes.
Then before you know, you sucked into an environment, into an atmosphere to where that you find it good and it's compensating.
Yes.
You know, to your every need. And so the need sometimes begins to outgrow you to where you forget the cause of why you got involved with this. Your whole core value has declined based upon the fact that you surrender everything.
Chris, they may never had that value system, okay? But go ahead.
But if I may say, Terry, I like what you're saying, but I'm here where excuses I feel is a cop-out. And I feel if a person ain't there, and like you said, this platform or any other platform can provide that for them, where we're talking about how we can help one another grow. But I ain't trying to be nobody's father. I ain't nobody's father. But if I could be your brother, your cousin, your uncle, I could be that. But we in the grown man and grown woman business. We're not dealing with children. And the example that we set forth, how can we expect our children to produce good results if the results they seeing how we bicker and petty fighting over the smallest of things that don't make no sense, but before you know it, it's all out in the public that this person don't get along with this person because of that. All I'm saying, we have to diffuse that situation. And back to the point where Chill talking about the money, that ain't gonna never be out of the equation because a lot of us are in it for different reasons. And that's why I said, and I'm very strong about my brand. I fought for this brand. I fought, for everything I got. So it becomes personal, but not personal in the sense where I have malice in my heart for you. It becomes personal why I want to come before those who are in on this here subject that we can do better. Because I'm not one to give advice if I'm not going to be the example of my very own advice.
You better say that again.
That's just who I am.
You better say that again.
So I just leave that, for those who want to chime in and give their opinion as well, because like we talk about, there's multiple perspectives out there. My way ain't always the best way. I'm a man that way, like I said, I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to, every day a man and a woman should want to learn. Every day. Knowledge is infinite. There's nothing that that I say that we can't learn, and there's nothing that I say to the point where that we can't be encouraging and an inspiration to others, but as long as we shut down, the possibilities don't lie ahead for change. Because we always, if we unto our own, me, myself, all knowing, how the heck you gonna learn from Mr. X? If I want to learn how to work on on the table or be a DJ, I got to go to his school, his class. If I want to be a mediator, I got to go to Mr. Terry and see where I need to start at. The basics. Where do we start at? So I could be a better communicator or whatever. So, or if I want to be a grassroots organizer, how do we do this? I may need to go and see Mr. Nelson, Brother Nelson. So we can see, because I'm not looking for the worst in you. I'm trying to get the best out of you. Because we all got flaws. Don't nobody should be walking around here thinking they don't have it. So I would never point at you thinking that I'm high, I'm high almighty God, that I'm the best thing walking. And sometimes we get full of ourselves with that when we get a few accolades. We get a little pat on our shoulders. We get somebody to give us a parade. We get full of ourselves. Now you can't talk to them. Now you can't talk to her. We can't be there. We ain't even there yet to even think that that this here thing we're doing is an individual thing. No, it's never an individual thing. Because like I said again, without the people, you ain't got nothing in these events. Without the people, you got nothing. So it do us a disservice to try to put down somebody who's making the effort of trying to do something that nobody else is doing for us. You don't see nobody who's doing country doing that just to one another publicly, or rock and roll or what have you. I'm gonna put it out there. But us, we do it to one another.
So just
1 minute next before you come in, I just want to say, people, do not equate age with level of maturity, because that doesn't
exactly.
Go. So go ahead.
You got babies that know better.
So Kim in the chat line said we need to get everyone together, have a sit down and try to hash things out. But I feel that it's hard to get everybody who's living their own lives, who go to work, and it's hard to get people together, especially with all the egos involved and with everybody with their own thoughts on how things should be. But what are your feelings on that?
I think it's good, but as long as they come with the good intentions. You know what I mean? You got Ford's does it. They have a board meeting. GM. All these corporations have board meetings where they bring in different people from different entities involved, how to better bring out a better product, how we can merge. You see what I mean? Everybody, I welcome that, but I'm not going to walk into a situation like Terry said, when people got different agendas and hidden motives. Because if you remember, Mr. X, when we had and this is not mockery, blasphemous of those who are Christians, but we had the last lunch, if you recall, as they said, the Last Supper with Christ. We had the last lunch with a few brothers from different various cities, towns. And what came out of that, to Tim's question, what came out of that, everybody was on board at the table, but then when the table dispersed, when we went our own separate way, everybody had a different agenda. This guy wanted to be a boss over this person. See, because everybody, if you recall, we were all designated a position. If you recall, you was definitely appointed our event coordinator. Why? Because you brought everything to fruition to help me do this thing by bringing in DJs, sound managers. Why wouldn't I give that to you? And not only that, like I said, we go back as children. But the thing about it, it's about decency again. Honor, do the honorable thing, have respect for one another. Because at the end of the day, it's what do we get out of this? I mean, I get something from it where the satisfaction of people walking away happy and pleased that we gave a good outing, a good day for people to bring their children out, engage where everybody having fun. It's a free, safe environment. It don't cost you nothing. Just come on out and enjoy yourself. zero incidents. If I had any wood, I knock on it. House music don't bring that kind of.
Knocking on it for you.
Come on. I mean, with every event you go to, you don't have this here where it be a turnout of violence or whatever.
Never.
You know, you don't have that. So to Tim's point, if Tim want to make the call, anybody who want to make the call to all the Jersey hitters, I walk in anybody's table and I'd be willing to sit down and listen.
And
But it's how we.
Chris, I want to say this. When you, like you said, the corporations, and I was trying to say before, any job, any place you go to, most of the times, they do have a person called the ombudsman. When anything goes wrong, you're supposed to be able to come to them and they hear your point of view and they try to work it out. And that's something that I think, we're doing and I'm offering now. So if anybody is out there, again, if you see me and you want to say something, because sometimes Chris and Chillax in the public, again, it's about trust and it's about feeling safe, because there's some people, you got to remember, it's personality. Some people personality is very laid back and shy and quiet, and they want to say something, but they don't know who they should say it to, right? Then there's somebody else who's loud and proud and don't care, and they'll say, hey, I don't give a damn, and they'll say what they want to say, whether it hurt somebody's feelings or not. And then you got some people out there who are very diplomatic about how they say something, and it comes across very softly, right? So you got to remember, that's my perspective, where I'm coming from within this. And that only came with a level of maturity, because age does not equate maturity, right? I had to grow into this. I had to go get some training. I had to be educated in this, right? I thought I knew some stuff, but I really didn't know it. So a lot of people out there, what we're talking about other people. You got thousands. If you're talking about, you got 15 to 20,000 people coming to one event, all those people are different personalities, right? And so if you're one person, right, trying to deal with all those personalities, no, you will not be able to come to a table to agree on the same thing. You have to have somebody who is skilled at that. You have to have somebody who knows how to do that, right? And you have to know that that person is good at what they're doing, because everybody who has a title in something doesn't mean that they're good at that. And that's where people expect people to behave a certain way because they have a title. And that's where people go wrong sometimes, because they have this expectation that you are professional, you're supposed to behave this way. Everybody who has a title, who's professional, don't behave that way. And I think that's another part of the house community under in a division. We are expecting that people should know how to behave, and they don't. Right. Some people, some people just really don't. I've seen some people who are very nasty. I've heard some things, and the type of person I am is that I accept people for who they are, as long as that person, for me, is not physically hurting somebody or physically hurting me. I don't care, because people have the right to be who they are. But you do have to have somebody who understands the dynamics of relationships when you're trying to do something like this. This is not just a 1, 2, 3 and the people that Chillax have. This thing is bigger. It goes into other states. It's going into, to other countries and stuff. So this thing is bigger than what people think. And some people don't think that large like that. They just think only like this particular, this community. And that's why we're breaking it down and just focusing on New Jersey, because this thing is bigger than this. But you have to have somebody who do know people, who do know how to get along in a sense with people and respect people, because you don't have to like them, but you have to know how to respect them in a sense. So you do have to have that. And that's what I'm offering. If you see me out, you want to say something. As a matter of fact, I have spoken to, like I said before, we did this. I came to Chillax and said, I spoke to DJs, I spoke to promoters and asked them, can I get them together and talk? And they did. They agreed, right? Now, we didn't get a chance to do that sit down, but now we're doing this. And that was something I wanted Chillax to record, but it just happened to be this way, which is all right with me, as long as the message get out. It doesn't have to be an ego thing, because I could have been like, well, Chillax, this and this and that. But that's not what it's about. It's done. It's done. No matter how it gets done, as long as it's getting done. I don't have to have an ego. I know somebody else can say, well, I'm not going to talk to you because I did it like this and I came to you first. So I did. That don't matter to me. as long as something get done, let's get it done, right? So Chris, they know you. And I'm quite sure when they see you, they're going to tell you some things about how they feel and what they would like to see improved, or they might give you your accolades. Same thing with Chilex. They're going to talk to Chilex and they're going to tell him things that they want to say because Chilex have that type of
And I
personality.
welcome it.
Right. Has that type of personality too, that people are going to talk to him and it feels safe. I have my people who feel like they feel safe enough to talk to me. But I want other people to know that it is safe to come and talk to me. But here's the downside of the other side of this that Chris and all of us are talking about. You can't control, and we know this, you all know this already, so I'm just going to say, because it's not just me, we can't control people, we can only control who we are. But if you control who you are and change who you are, it changes the whole dynamic of the situation. But you're going to have a few people who are not about that, because personality, and you can't take this stuff personal, and you have to learn that. So when you hear somebody criticizing somebody like me in this field, when I see somebody criticizing something, doing something, I know what it is. I know it's personality disorder. It's some type of personality disorder, because some things like we just could see it, right?
Right.
Public won't be able to see that. They'll think that that person is such a critical person, this and that, but we see it like it's something going on with that person, and so we don't take it personal. We just say we know how to deal with that person. But everybody don't know, when you got those ego tripping people who is like me, and stepping on people's toes and don't give a damn, and it's all about the money. Those people, unfortunately, sometimes do succeed because people condone that behavior, because they do not know what that is. And some other people condone that behavior because it gets them accolades and it gets them money as well. And then you got people who don't understand that dynamic. And when they don't understand that, these people continue to get away to do that. And eventually what it will do, it will dismantle something, because then it changed the whole vibe. It changed everything. And then people, whether people want to realize this or not, people know the shift when something is shifting. People know when people don't. And if enough people pick, because people are not stupid.
Exactly.
People are not this house music. They see what's going on.
Exactly.
Fool them. You cannot fool them. Keep on doing that nonsense, because what's going to happen is it is going to dismantle. Those people are going to get tired, and they're going to stop coming, and they're going to stop participating, and they're going to move away from that. And eventually it won't stop house music, but it may stop it in your county. It may stop it in whatever area that you're trying to do, because people will not follow things after a while when it gets to be too chaotic, because we like orders. Like I said before, we like that. And those people who dance on the dance floor, who hit the pavement for these DJs and these promoters, let me tell you something. You better take care of those people. And if you are one of those people who, like Chilex was saying, like, like it's not Chilex, but we're pretty much saying, they're out there for the money and they don't care about nobody. That's personality. That's not going to last. It will last for a little bit, but it's not going to last. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm the type of person where I can see trends and how things are going to go. I'm not a psychic, but I could see that stuff. I don't think that this money that these counties have, I don't know about next year if they're going to have all this money, because they only had a certain amount of money right after this COVID thing. And once that money is spent, that's done. Then it's now the community is left, like what Chris is saying. You left in your own, like, here we are. We still stand up. These grassroots people are still standing here. But then what happens? What happens to the community? What happens to house music then? You're going to really find out the real true legends, the real true troopers of house music, because they're going to get behind you, because it's not about the county supporting you so much, because we were doing this before. It's just that these promoters didn't have to worry about the money, because the money was being backed by these counties. And people have to understand that money may not last long. And if you don't use the money correct, and the public doesn't notice, if you don't use the money correctly, and not to say that the promoters, if the county doesn't use the money correctly the way it's supposed to be done, those programs stop, and those funding stop, and those house music events or those small things, they stop. So this is not, you can't have so much of an ego, because if you think that you are the thing that's it, lose your position and see what happens. Lose your position as a director of something. Lose your position as a head of this field. Lose this of this promoter. That's just your title. Lose your title and see what happens to you. You're gonna find out. Those people are gonna find out real quick who they really are and who really represent. Take money away. We have to learn the business of money and people. And a lot of us don't know this because house music is about escaping. It's about being fun, having fun. It's about community. And it's just a part of our culture, right? And so we have to retain that. And I like that what we're doing right now. We are now holding on to trying to hold on to solidarity of house music because it is a part of the African American culture. Because music has always been a part of our culture. That's how we communicate with each other, and it transitions into other ethnicities and cultures because they understand that music brings people together. So let's continue to be together. Let's continue to talk about the solidarity of house music, and let's continue to listen to each other without defensiveness. And if we can learn, I think, Chris, we were trying to say too, if we can just listen without defensiveness, we can possibly get somewhere. And I know that we are because we're doing it now because Chilex is saying that we're getting so much positive feedback from this that I know that come next year, 2023 in the summer, we're gonna see more hugs. We're gonna see more of a discussion. We're gonna see more because people may not. You think people are not listening to people, even though you think who may have these egos and who are maybe you may think that they're not listening. They're listening, and maybe one thing. And this is the thing about change in our field. You never know when somebody, that light turns on for them. They could just walk out of the shower and the light turn on. They could be walking down the stairs and the light turn on. So who knows, that light might turn on by next summer. And they might come out and say to you, Chris, man, I apologize. I shouldn't have said that to you. You know, it took a little bit of growth, or it took the discussion like this, because that's how change happens. People have to hear stuff, because if you're around people who are talking the same thing all the time, you cannot hear what other people are saying. You got to get out and be exposed to other people's opinions and views. And I think Chilex is doing it because he has thousands of people who are listening to this. And that's how you expose people to this. And you just never know, Chris, and I almost promise you that you'll get somebody who's going to come up to you by next year and say, man, I'm sorry, I apologize, shake your hand. You know, I understand. I didn't know that much about you because I didn't sit down in front of you, but I heard this or somebody else said it. Same thing with Chilex, same thing with me. You just never know. Somebody's going to come up to you and say that. And that's what I'm hoping to hear. My goal is to hear people say, you know what? After listening to, the solidarity of house music, it really gave me a better perspective of how, I should appreciate, this thing that we have, because it can be taken away from us just like that.
Yeah, I'm looking, DJ Air had brought up the Chosen Few Festival. That's like the festival of all festivals as far as house music in the United States. It's like the biggest. And a lot of the Chicago DJs got together and put this Chosen Few Festival together, and it's huge every year. It's like the mecca for house music festivals. So, big shout out to DJ Air. He also had mentioned that we should have a convention, which I think will be good as long as it's someone from the outside that is doing it, and to get people there.
And I thank you too, DJ Air, because I believe I said something like that last year. I didn't know they would, and I know that they do that in Chicago. And I've never gone. I've always wanted to go. But I was saying that I think I hinted to that last time we spoke. It's just like those jazz festivals. It should be in a park, a really big park that can handle that. And you have different sections of these DJs who can play. And I've been to these jazz festivals, mainly one in Maryland, that it's been for years we've been going to, and it works very well. They have a main stage, they have another stage over here, and they have another stage over here. You can go, it's big enough, and the sound cannot cross something, cannot contaminate the sound system because it's so far away. And I guess the way you DJs, y'all know how to put your music to go a certain way so it won't mess with the acoustics in the air and stuff like that, right? So I think that people should continue to have their municipality festivals, house festivals in their county, because some people they're just used to that. They should have that. But then they should also, like, DJ Air is saying, and I'm also saying, there's a big enough park in New Jersey, and I'm not going to say which one it is because I don't want to do that to the people, but it's in New Jersey, where you can do it, where the acoustic sound will not interfere with the other DJs. And you can say, this DJ lineup is all coming on over here. This DJ lineup is coming on this time and this time. And you pay one fee to get into that park to go see this festival. And you get to go in between throughout the park. You have that access. I think that should happen. People might say, no, I don't want to pay, you shouldn't have to pay. No, keep on having these little local community festivals, but then have for the people who say, hey, if we feel like we want to have it on the same day, let's just have this one big event where we all get paid. And like you say, that would have to be an outsider promoter who has that money to be able to support that, to pay all those DJs and to pay those promoters and pay those stage people and pay those sound people and pay,
But the Chosen Few Festival, they pay to get in there. They paying $25 to $40 a person to get in.
I'm trying to say, but then like to your point, whoever do it, it has to be somebody who has the money to be able to pay these DJs, though, to pay these promoters, to pay these sound people, to pay, all the setup and all that kind of stuff. That takes a lot of money to do that. And now if an outside person like yourself come and do that, yes, I see that can help. And then maybe somebody needs to talk to one of these big promoters who do these festivals, these not jazz, but house things, these jazz festivals, because jazz festivals have been R&B jazz festivals. They've been doing that for quite a long time. And
No, I'm sorry. I just wanted to, Terry, to your point, Terry, the fix to that? Like Chill was saying, getting a mediator like yourself, somebody in the middle that could be neutral. If they see all of us coming together, all these promoters and everything, the public will buy into it. The public will support, because then they'll see unity among New Jersey, all the promoters.
Well, guess what, Chris? It's happening now because it's in the making now. Because I believe in this.
I'm just saying that's a fixed problem.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say to you, that I believe it's going to happen, because I believe anytime you speak of something, it's already happening. So it's on its way to happen, because it's out there in the air, and anything somebody say, it's already out there. It's going to get done. So hopefully, maybe not this summer, but probably next summer, it may be something like that. And this summer might take the summer for us to do a powwow, right? Because I'm Native American too, that we may have this little powwow where we sit down, and you have to have somebody to be able to know how to do that. Because if you don't, this is what families try to do. This is what relationships try to do. This is what people in business try to do. They try to resolve the same issue the same way, and you get the same results. And that's called insanity. You got to get somebody who knows how to help people to communicate with one another. If you don't do that, you're all absolutely right. This thing will not work. But if you can get that, you will see tremendous change. And people don't understand, out of conflict, right, makes people stronger. People don't know that. Some people think conflict is bad. So they don't want to even have to say something, because they're not used to having a conflict, and conflict is not bad. And if you ask a lot of people, people think conflict is bad. And when I say conflict, mean that if I say something to you, you don't agree with it. A lot of people don't even like to do that, because they're afraid. They're like, no, I don't want to start no trouble. I don't want I don't want mess, right? And so those people don't like conflict, so they avoid conflict. But that doesn't resolve anything. It just keeps it stagnant and just keeps it going. And I have to get people to understand that conflict is not bad. That actually, when you talk about the conflict and the bad thing, you actually become closer to people. So this thing, once we start talking more, because it's happening now, and I got good vibes. I could tell when something's good, when it's shift and all that kind of stuff. I got a good vibe with this, because I don't go and I don't do anything that I don't have a good vibe in, because that's what I do. I study people. I understand people's behavior. I understand how things operate. And if I see something that's going somewhere, you better believe I'm not a pushover. I'm nice, but I'm not a pushover, because I'll gently, gracefully bow out and say, no, I something doesn't feel.
I think that's all of us on this pattern. I think that will apply to all of us. because if I sense something that goes against, what I believe, as far as, that doesn't allow me to feel good after I walk away, I don't revisit it, and I tell you, yes, you're absolutely right. This is the start of the beginning of some things. And I like what Chill brought out, is that this can be something that we all could come together on, and I'm open for that. And it's just like I say, who gonna be willing to come forth with that? And I think this is the platform to do, but I don't say we got to be the sole owner of that. I think that the way we bridge this gap, if we just finally say to ourselves, like, you know what, it's much bigger than us. It's much bigger than, you know what I mean? Because what are we gonna leave as a legacy for the children that come up behind us? You know what I mean? So that's more important to me, than myself. Because let's be real, ain't either one of us gonna be here, you know, long enough to see our
I think I got 20.
children's children.
I think I got 20 years to be here.
Pardon me?
I said I think I got I think I got about 20 more years to be here.
Oh, well, I listen. I'm looking for many more too, But safekeeping, let's make sure we nurture this thing properly. So if we ain't capable of doing what we are doing now, that we got someone coming up that can take over the baton and run with it.
Chris, don't remove yourself from that. We're doing that now, Chris.
Oh no,
I feel like we're doing it because we're in it, right? But
yes.
we're doing it right now. But you know what else I want to say? When you were talking, what came to my mind, right? And it's bringing a smile to my face, right? Because I listen to a lot of people and I watch things when I'm out and stuff like that, because I love people and always watch people, right? And I take notes about how people interact.
Right.
When you started talking that, right? You know who I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about at the festivals, and it's making me smile. The people who clean up after themselves, right? Who put those piles, and I'm going to tell you this in there, who put their even though they might not have garbage bags or anything, or maybe somebody who left, right? Because I've done this myself, and maybe people out there have done it. I'm thinking about those people who put those trashes in the pile for the men who clean up after us, who come there, right? Who I heard a couple of them say when I was there, and I would do that, and I would put myself in a thing, and they were saying, thank you for doing that, because we were wondering who was doing those things like that, who put those things in the pile like that, right? So they were saying, thank you so much for doing that. So for those people who are out there, I want to say this to you guys. When those festivals are over, you are picking up your trash and you're putting it in a pile, and maybe not be able to fit into the trash can, but you're putting in one designated area to let people know that we care. That's telling those people who clean up after us that we care about the people who come and clean that mess up, because we shouldn't have to have all that mess around and stuff like that. So I want to say shout out to those people who do that, who take the time and who think about, even though their neighbor next to them did not put their trash up, and they did that, but they took their trash and they brought it in and they put it in there. So I want to say thank you for those people who do that and acknowledge you. I want to also acknowledge this one lady. I don't know her name, and somebody might know it. And if you know it, put it in the chat. Well, if you see her, tell her thank you. She's a tall African-American young lady. She's about brown skin. She got to be about 5'6", about 5'7". She's a very thin lady, a seasoned woman, and she comes and I think she plays no matter where she is, I watch her because I watch people. She cleans up. I don't care if we at if it's just a cement area where we are in the ground, she's in the club, I always see her picking up trash. I love her for that. I love her. So whoever she is, I don't know her name, and next time I hope somebody tell me and find out her name. But if you see her, tell her thank you, because she don't ask for her accolades. She ain't trying to get the attention. She just quietly, and I watch her. She just quietly picks up the paper. She quietly do this, and she quietly, and nobody even really kind of say anything. Maybe a few people might say, but I haven't seen too many people say. And she just picks it up, and she just sees, and she just And I said, wow, look at her, look at her. So for those people out there who pick up the trash and it's not yours in those festivals, kudos to you. That is part of the solidarity of keeping the house music safe and secure and feel comfortable for people to be there. So thank you all. And those people, those people who out there who do the footwork for these DJs and these promoters, I want to acknowledge you guys too, because they forget about you guys. And like Chris said, you know, without the people, but without those people too, who began to put their footwork and put the notice out there, give praise to those people. Do something nice for them promoters. Do something nice for them DJs. Don't forget about them. Don't forget about them, because you know who they are. And don't forget, and don't mistreat them once you get up there and you're somewhere and you make it a name for yourself, that you mistreat these people down here. Because like they say, Chris and Chilex, I'm quite sure you know, more so to Chris, when you go, when I was young, I heard this, when you go up that ladder, what happens?
No, you got to come down.
If you fall, guess what happened? You got to see those same people as you come down. And that's what we have to get people to understand in the house community, that you got to be able to treat people nice, because you just never know, you might need them. Never misjudge or never mistreat somebody, because you never know what might happen.
Okay, well, with that being said, we're gonna close things up. Any last words, Chris?
Well, I do want to put this out early, since I'm usually the first one out, but again, we don't know. But I'm gonna put it out anyway. June 3rd, we should be hosting our 7th annual Goodwill Festival. Rain date will be June 10th. That will be in cooperation with Chilex Production. We're looking forward to continue to serve the community, and with that being said, hey, I welcome everybody, please, and if you can do anything possibly to, like I say, I'm welcome for ideas to better enhance the event, and if you got some ideas, we welcome it. Bring it to me, and we can go from there. And I just want to leave with this thought, and I hope that, you know, each and every one day is great, and that we could be a better people towards one another than we were towards one another yesterday.
Absolutely. And Terry, anything coming up?
It sure is, Chilex. I have the return of Cocktails and Conversations, connecting people and renewing relationships, just what we're talking about, having people to be able to talk about healthy relationships. I do this in social settings because people think that they have it all together when it's in a relationship. I don't care how long you've been in a relationship, your relationship evolves anytime something happens, whether somebody leave, when someone die, you change a job, you move, child moves out, your relationships change, but people continue to try to remain the same. So I want to go out there and help people to understand that it's a skill to be in a relationship, but I make it fun. And that event is going to be held this Saturday, December the 17th. It's going to be at 1579 Irvin Street in Rahway, New Jersey. It's called the Salad Station, but I have Sweet Bliss on there. Again, it's going to be a wonderful event. It's to return. You're going to see it's going to be a phenomenal sensation, because it was doing well prior to COVID, and it will continue on now. And so I welcome all to come out to support that. It's a very fun event. We'll have mixers, food, drinks, just a really good time.
Okay, thank you. How can people get tickets?
People can go on Eventbrite, and it's called Cocktails and Conversations, or they can email me. You're always welcome to email me at lovecoachlifecoach@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook. My name is Terry Jeter. I am on Instagram, but I have not been on it in a while, so I need to come back onto Instagram. So I forgot what my handler name is there. I think it's Coached by Terry Jeter. But that's how you can contact me. But I hope to see you this weekend, December the 17th. It starts at 7 p.m. Now, my events are not like parties, right? They're very like R&B, jazz, and laid back, talking to people. They start on time. They're 7 because it's a format to it, okay? So if you come in like 10 or something like that, you're going to miss the whole thing. You just come with the mixer, but it's a purpose, okay, to connect people.
Okay, and big shout out to Tamara, Monique, Matthew J in the chat line, DJ Air, Kim, thank you for tuning in today. We will be back next Monday with a hot new topic for everybody. Next week will be even bigger, and then we'll return the holiday weekend for Reminisce on the Club's special podcast. So make sure you tune into that. But once again, thank you, Terry. Thank you, Chris. I'm DJ Chillax, and hope to see you next week.
Thank you.
Blessings, my peoples. Enjoy.